Hello everybody, Peter the Book Lover here. I want to thank you for clicking on my channel. It means a lot to me. I'm a person that has a YouTube channel that where I talk about books and movies. I have a great time doing it. Hopefully you'll have a great time being here as well. And today I'm going to do a haul, but not a hauls of 8. I usually do hauls of 8, but this is a kind of a bigger haul. I've got quite a few books here that I want to talk about. This is from 2 trips to the store. One set of these are books that I bought, and another one come from book boxes. I take a lot of long walks because I have to pick up some medication for my roommate, and I have to go pretty far to get it. And on the way, I run into a lot of book boxes, and there's where I got half of these. Well, a little less than half. And the other half I got from a couple of bookstores and thrift stores. So we're going to talk about this, so let's get into this. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, let's start off with the first one. This one is by Eric Ambler, and this is A Coffin for Demetrios. And it says, the greatest spy novelist of all time. So this makes this really interesting to me. You know, anything that's labeled the best spy novel of all time, that's got to be pretty interesting, right? Okay. The next one I got is Impossible Places by Alan Dean Foster. And this guy actually wrote the novelization of Star Wars. So I haven't read anything other than his novelization of A New Hope by Star Wars. So I'm looking forward to reading some of his short stories. It should be a lot of fun. The next one I have right here is from my man Stephen King. This is Joyland. This is a kind of mystery novel by Stephen King. I really love his book, man. I'm a big fan of Stephen King, so I'm looking forward to checking this out. Now, one thing is that was really interesting. I've read a short story of Stephen King doing Sherlock Holmes, and he did a really interesting story. I really like the story that he did with the characters of Watson and Sherlock Holmes. So I'm really looking forward to this. Of course, I always like adding new Stephen King to my collection. Stephen King is one of my favorite authors. I've loved his books for a very long time now, pretty much more than any author. For the longest time, he was definitely my favorite. And I've read so many. But my biggest book collection is of the Stephen King books. So, and then I got this. This is Custer, A Fighter for the Plains by Sharon Garist. And yeah, this looks like it might be really interesting. This looks like more of a children's literature than adult literature. So this should be a lot of fun. George Armstrong Custer is a really interesting character. I read another book about him, and Crazy Horse. It was a really fascinating book, and I wouldn't mind reading this. This should be a lot of fun. I really like the character. He was a little crazy, though. He might have not have got killed, but he was so gung-ho to become the president of the United States that he really wanted to make a name for himself. And he's a legend now because we still talk about him. Then I got this, When Plague Strikes, and this says the Black Death, Smallpox, and AIDS. This is another children's literature. This is written by James Cross Giblin, and yeah, this should be Giblin. That's what it looks like. But yeah, this should be really interesting. This is another one that looks more of the line of for younger adults and children. So the next one right here is definitely in the children's literature category. But this is a very interesting subject, the national anthem. I loved it when Jimi Hendrix played the national anthem. He did a fantastic job with that. And I actually watched a YouTube video, the Star Spangled Banner, as you've never heard it before. And they talked about a battle that happened when George Scott Key actually seen this battle, and it's what inspired him to write the national anthem. And yeah, this is a pretty interesting little book. It should be. Yeah, and it should be very short. Definitely in the kids' literature category. And here's another disaster story. It looks like another children's literature. And I really like children's literature. You can learn a lot from it. There's a lot of really interesting books that are written for children. You know, you as an adult, if you do not know what they're covering, it's really fascinating for you. And I think as an adult, you're a little bit more interested in the events because you understand the weight of it, you know. But yeah, the quake of a disaster in San Francisco, 1906. And this is by Gail Langer Kowalski. Looks pretty interesting, and I'm really interested in checking that out. Then I've got this big one right here. This one is disasters. It's a bunch of different disasters. Of course, that's the Titanic on the cover, and the biggest disasters in history, from the Salt Indus Valley to the Hurricane Sandy. So yeah, this should be really interesting. I love reading about disasters. It's really nice to read about it, opposed to experiencing it. And like I say, my heart really goes out when I read that stuff. I really think about the people that go through this stuff. And the last book that I got from the book boxes is this, another more children's literature. This is Star Wars Rebels, and this is Droids in Distress. I really love the droids from Star Wars. This is a Disney book, so there is no author. They don't credit authors when you write for Disney, apparently. And yeah, this looks like another children's literature. I've got a lot of it in this haul. But yeah, I really like the droids from Star Wars. They're kind of unique because they all have personality. You know, like R2-D2 has a lot of personality. C-3PO has a lot of personality. And it's pretty cool. Now, that's all the books that I got from the book boxes. Those were all free, which is amazing. And I'm really looking forward to reading those. And then this DVD was in one of the book boxes as well. And this is The Empire Strikes Out, Star Wars Lego. And I've played some video games of Star Wars Legos. Really, really awesome. I've played with Legos a lot in my lifetime. Even as an adult, I like messing with Legos. They're really cool toys. Not really recommended for younger children. But yeah, this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I really also enjoyed the Family Guy's takes on Star Wars. Blue Harvest, I have that DVD, and it's wonderful. I really love that, and I'm really looking forward to checking this out. Now, in my book haul here, I actually wound up spending $4 for this. This is Casino Royale, Daniel Craig's first appearance as James Bond. You know, that's one thing that's cool about James Bond. It's portrayed by different actors, and a lot of them have done really wonderful with that character. Roger Moore did a really wonderful job. I like Pierce Brosnan's James Bond. Of course, Sean Connery, he did a really introduction to that character, and he did great. I've also read some James Bond books, and I really love them. And I always want to get more James Bond novels because the ones I've read, I enjoyed a lot. My favorite is Goldfinger. That's really wonderful. But I got Casino Royale. This is actually the first James Bond story that was in book form, so pretty cool. Now, I got a big collection of books in the same format. This is the What Is, Who Was book series. And the first one I'll show you is for the women's rights movement. And this should be very interesting. I spent $1 for this. And even if this was more expensive, I wouldn't mind reading about this. I love reading about women fighting for their rights and stuff. I wouldn't mind reading this. This is a lot of fun. Then we've got David Crockett. Who was David Crockett? And these books are really wonderful, man. You could read them in one day, and you'll learn a lot from each one of these books, you know. Then we've got Sitting Bull. And this one I paid, David Crockett I paid $3 for. This one I paid $2 for. Then we've got, I've spent $3 on this, and this is What is the Stanley Cup? This is about hockey. I I'm not a big hockey fan, but at the same time, I've watched my share of games, and it's a very interesting sport. It's exciting. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of fights going on in hockey, and I'm looking forward to checking this out. Then we've got this. I paid $1 for this. What is the story of Willy Wonka? And I've read the Roald Dahl book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it's a really excellent book. It's a fantastic piece of children's literature, plus all the Roald Dahl books. He's got some of the best children's literature of all time. The book Witches is like one of my favorite novels of all time. I really love that one. Check this out. I've got Who Was Leif Erikson? And yeah, this is about the Vikings, and I can learn a little bit about the Vikings. And what's really interesting about these books, it's got some really interesting artwork, and you can learn a little bit about geography of the events that happen in these stories. Yeah, and I paid $3 for this. I got this one for 55 cents. Who was Dr. Seuss? And I really love How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I really love The Cat in the Hat. Believe it or not, if you haven't read that book in a long time, give that book another read. It's a really entertaining children's book. It's fantastic. Green Eggs and Ham. That's very simple, but still, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, Dr. Seuss is a wonderful author, and I'd like to read a little bit more about him. Now, who were the Wright brothers? And yeah, this should be very interesting about how they came up with the airplane. And, you know, they took a big risk doing this. Yeah, this was another $3 one, and I really enjoyed. I'm really looking forward to reading about these guys. I really enjoy this kind of piece of history. You know, it's really fascinating on how they were so excited if you flew for like a half a minute. You know, and then it got longer and longer. And then we have Amelia Earhart. She did a wonderful job. She was the first one to, believe she was the first one to fly across the ocean. I'm not sure about that. I have a couple books about her that I'm going to get to in the future. And then this one should be a lot of fun. Who was Bruce Lee? I got this one for $2, and I really love Bruce Lee. What a character! What a guy, man! He had He had a great personality, man, and he was tough. I believe he was tough in real life, and I really love some of his movies. Fist of Fury was one of my favorite movies growing up. I really loved that movie a lot. That was excellent. Really silly. They had this thing to where they jump over fences, and it was really over the top. And there's this one scene where a guy throws a bird cage, and it lands perfectly. Really great movie, man. If you've never seen Fist of Fury, I highly recommend that. And what was the Titanic? This should be very interesting. I love all the history of the Titanic. Now, I found out something interesting. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and I found out in Skokie, which is a suburb of Chicago, they have a museum of the Titanic. I could get there by bus, but it's like $30 to get in, and that's a little bit too expensive for me. But I might actually cough up the money and go and see that, because that really seems very interesting. Although $30 for me is not the easiest thing to come by. I don't have a bunch of money sitting in a bank account. Okay, so the last book that I have in this book series is Who Was Jesus? And this should be really interesting. I know an awful lot about Jesus because I've read the Gospels many times, and I still read it constantly. So that's these. And then I've got this book right here, From a Series of Unfortunate Events. I was missing 7, 11, and 12. And when I went to I haven't read any of these yet, but I've actually watched the movie with Jim Carrey in it. And Jim Carrey does a fantastic job in that movie. He really plays a great villain. But this is book number 7, one of the books that I was missing. Now I am only missing an 11 and 12. I do plan on going to the bookstore very soon, you know, a better bookstore that I chances are I could get book 11 and book 12, and then I'll have the whole set. Although I have enough books now, since I've got 1 through 10, to actually start checking out this book series. Okay, and then I've got this book right here. This is another. I have another book of this book. This is Night by Elie Wiesel, and this is the story about the Holocaust and what people went through the Holocaust. I really love this book, and this is a different translation of the same story. Really powerful book. I enjoy this, but damn, this is a heartbreaking book, and I'm looking forward to reading this again, but in a different translation. And the last book that I'm going to show you today is The Lightning Thief, but this is I've read the 5 books of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. They were great. This book was great, but now I've got the graphic novel of it, and it should be a lot of fun. I am really looking forward to reading this in the near future. So this is a pretty big haul, right? I mean, a lot of books right here, so I really can call that hauls of 8. But I really want to thank you for being here. Now, if you've read any of these books and want to guide me to some of these books, or just want to give me your opinion, let me know in the comment section. And if you can, hit the like button if you like any of these books or you like my commentary. And if you can, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. If you like Grumpy, hit the like button, because Grumpy is pretty cool. I always like Grumpy. He's one of my favorite dwarfs. Okay, so that's it. I'm Peter the Book Lover. I want to thank you for coming by, and I hope to see you in the next video. See you next time.